That's just like a normality now.
And also, the bottom of these cars now are like a flat piece, right? So it's like
Yeah,
they
it's
would probably
so
catch
much
the air
easier.
better.
Oh yeah, it's so much easier for the air to pick up. Well, that's the thing about Harrison Burton's wreck. I mean, the car turned around and the roof flaps did absolutely nothing to keep that car from taking off.
Mm-hmm. So how are the points right now? I'll look that up.
Hoffman's pulling away again. Tell you
Come on,
what,
Wayne, let's
Kenny,
team
you're
up and
gonna
get
take
Schaffner.
quite a beating from this though, because I mean, you could slip back as far as 6th now. That puts you 100 out.
Don't let him block you, Wayne.
That is if Hoffman shows up. I mean, hell, the way that I just
He
realized
tried.
that so far the entire top 3
Yeah, you
are a
gotta watch him.
no-show
He's a little slippery.
in the points. I mean, there's a bit of an
Oh, wow.
asterisk on you because you're technically a show, but you're not racing. But this could bring Schaffner right back into the fight. He's 75 out, and if Hoffman doesn't, or if Hoffman doesn't turn up, then I could close on in. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go super speedway racing once again, and this time it's at the biggest, the baddest track on the NASCAR calendar. It's the Talladega Super Speedway in Alabama. Welcome to your running of the Rock Auto 250 here for the ISCA Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series. My name is Nolan Memple. I've got Brian Britt beside me in the broadcast booth, and this time not Rob Melnick, but Kenny Powell himself down below, behind the cameras for tonight's presentation. So should be a very entertaining race then for us here tonight, Brian, as we get set to go plate track racing on what is arguably one of the most exciting tracks you can find on the iRacing surface.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be an exciting one. We're going to probably see some side-by-side action, some three-wide. You know, a lot of guys maybe having some trouble passing. I mean, this is one of those, the car and track combo is a little bit different considering these guys, you know, usually when you're at a plate track like this, tape it comes into be a pretty big factor, but that's not really going to be a factor here tonight. Also, you know, when it comes to qualifying, hard to make a setup that it really is adapted for qualifying when they're not able to really make adjustments on tape and such. But definitely honored to have Kenny Powell down there back behind the cameras.
So we're getting set to cap off the top half of the season for Season 2 of the ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series in their 2022 campaign. And so far, Clayton Hoffman leads the way with 1,000, and I'm all sorts of crossed out, with 419 points. But it is worth noting so far that in tonight's race, the entire top three in the points are all no-shows, meaning Josh Schaffner is once again in a position to bring himself right back up into the fray for a title.
Yeah, it could be a good move here tonight. I mean, if he's just able to keep that thing clean, I mean, he's still going to gain points on those guys, but I mean, of course, he's going to want to maximize that. But Talladega is going to present a big opportunity for a lot of the guys out there that you don't really ever see up towards the front. So we could really see some guy, you know, someone else get into the limelight here tonight. Seeing some different names right now. Cameron Stone, I do believe he's in a league that I broadcast, another league that I broadcast in. So glad to see him out there. You know, Jason Baker, I think he's kind of a newer name. But a lot of guys going to be coming out here and trying to make you know, things happen. Of course, we're going to see a lot more participation here at Talladega, Nolan.
And of course, there are quite a few names that you mentioned coming in here tonight. Jason Baker is one of those drivers. Here's one, and it's a bit of an interesting name at that. Brandon Pasalaqua. Huge apologies if I completely butchered the pronunciation of that name. Out of Carolina, though, he is definitely a new face here tonight. Andrew Grisbaum making a return. We haven't seen him back for some time. Derek Jacobs, we again haven't seen the number 27 car on track too often in recent memory. You got a couple of drivers that are making returns just for Talladega, and quite a few new faces coming in as well, and it should mean we could be in for a good race. 25 cars getting set for us tonight. One of the biggest grids we've had so far all season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting one. A lot of guys going to be battling hard. I mean, but one thing about it, you know, I think everybody's going to probably be on their P's and Q's here in the first parts of this race. I mean, we are going to be going stage racing, of course. You know, you want to try to keep it together and stay clean because, I mean, at a racetrack like this, I mean, your speeds of over 190 mile an hour, you have contact with those kind of speeds, you could ruin your whole night, and you don't want to do that. So a lot of these guys are probably going to be walking on eggshells at first.
Qualifying getting set to draw to a close. All but 5 cars have put down times. So as we get set to tick things over into the race session, it's time for us to take a brief step away, and it means it's time for the National Anthem.
Kenny's in the booth tonight, so it's gonna be a quickie, I guess.
Home Mullins?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up? Waiting on these guys. Stages are 20 and 40, I believe, tonight, fellas.
Sorry, guys, threw me off the National Anthem.
Hi, Robert.
Howdy do. Get the gummy bears?
I gotta get a couple more, I think.
Jalapeno flavored gummy bears. Kick it up a notch.
I like cherry. Everybody, just so you know, we got the yellow school bus out tonight. You check out the side of my car, you'll see we have some passengers.
We want to know what passengers those are.
It depends.
I'm kind of scared to look.
You been out shopping, Susan?
Not recently.
The field coming around through the tri-oval. It should be an entertaining race for us then here tonight. From Talladega, Alabama, it's time to turn those engines up. As we say, let's go racing at the biggest, baddest track in the United States of America.
Yeah, what a great pole there from Jeff Barnes. Bottom line, definitely getting a really good start there. It seems like a lot more organized. I think a lot of these guys really being really patient. You see the 51 trying to get down there onto the bottom. Jason Baker. Greg Wachinski right now trying to push Mark Sanchez up on the top to get that top line rolling. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes single file for a little while, Nolan.
I wouldn't be too surprised either, as looks like for the time being it will be two abreast through turns 3 and 4 for the first time today. Jeff Barnes pulled away with pole position. He looks like he will be leading the opening lap with Brandon Pesalacqua just tucked in behind the Premier Racing Setup Shop number 23 Chevrolet. And it is going to be the 32 Pepsi machine of Barnes to lead the opening lap while they're too wide right behind him.
Yeah, side-by-side racing going on right now. The 87 leading the top side, trying to get some momentum going. And I know in past times we've seen these next gens, you know, on iRacing on these kind of super speedway tracks like this. It seems like they had a hard time keeping it side-by-side, but I do believe iRacing updated it to where we're going to see a lot of some action-packed racing. I mean, these guys can get both lanes going. I would even say in some parts, Nolan, the top lane is going to be better than the bottom lane as this race progresses on.
The real thing that these drivers are going to have to be concerned about is how much that side draft is going to affect them, but it looks like it's going to be all sorted for the time being as that outside lane started to get some speed. Noah Bitts heading it up with Matt DiCiani right behind him. On top of that, you've also got Jason Baker, who's thinking about moving up to the high side to lead it from the bottom lane. Greg Bartlett going to be pulling even with the number 87 car. So far, though, a very clean start to this race. Every one of our 25 cars currently with the lead pack, save for the back two of Paul Olson and Thomas O'Hara, who have already slipped several seconds outside of the draft. 3 wide, though, behind them, as it looks like the 14 car, Jeffrey Souza, takes it to the high side.
Yeah, these guys are getting really close to one another. The 14, I do believe, on the top side, trying to stay off of that wall, but 3 wide in the middle here. And the one thing about Talladega is you got to choose your battles. Where do you go? Who are you going to push? Who's going to be your friend? And I think we're going to see a lot of that, as this race keeps progressing. I mean, you're going to find who you feel comfortable driving with. But I think a lot of these guys have in their mind right now, Nolan, this is a long race. I mean, 250 miles here. I mean, 94 laps. We got 2 stages, 20 and 40. I mean, this is going to be a long one. These guys have definitely got to try to keep their heads down and survive.
It's going to be a very long race tonight. The stages are at the ends of laps 20 and 40, so there will be 2 breaks in the middle where drivers will be able to get themselves a little bit more sorted, but that is not going to come for some time, and it could get very, very crazy when we get around to those final laps for those stages. As always, first place gets 10 points, then back by 1, all the way to 10 to receive just 1 point. Everybody else gets nothing. And it is those fine margins in the point standings that determine how championships over a longer period like these certainly play out. Those stage points can really add up in a hurry, especially since we've seen it in the past where championships have been decided by just 2 or 3 points already.
Oh, yeah, these stage points are going to be very, very useful, very important. So, I mean, even though it's a long race and a lot of guys are going to try to keep their heads down, like I was saying, there still will be some pressure to do well during those stages. That's why I think you see the 87 up on the top trying to fight really hard. I mean, he's got Matt DeCiani right behind him. Those two are working very well together right now. They got a lot of speed. I mean, they've been turning some of the fastest laps on the racetrack. It's just going to be all about being consistent, though, Nolan. I mean, when you're pushing someone, you got to be consistent. You got to be right there on that bumper. It's so easy to wiggle all around this track, especially with all the turbulent air.
We've said it before, when it comes to plate racing like this, you got to find a dance partner. You're not going to be able to make a one-man crusade all by yourself. You've got to have people working with you if you want to find your way up at the front by the end of one of these races. And so far, nobody's really taking any major risks. Everybody's just kind of tucking it in line, trying to make sure that they can just manage the race and manage their pace, and just make sure that they can actually be in a position where they can actually fight for those top spots by the time we get to the final lap in about an hour and a half or so. You still see Noah Bitts trapped on the high side, and the top 4 still single filed out. And I think that really is something to note. So far, they've been able to get up about as far as Jason Baker for the outside lane, but they haven't been able to get much farther than that.
Yeah, they definitely have. It seems like they almost hit a brick wall where they're stagnating. They can't get any further. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, I think we're going to see that top line be really, really strong. But right now, it does seem like that they're just not able to get past the 51. I expect they're going to start working forward, though.
I think it's the airflow. I mean, the top 3 are tucked up right up against each other. I mean, look at the top 3 and how close they are for this aerial shot. Everybody else, top 3, decides to poke his nose out to the high lane to try to go for the lead.
Yeah, and I also think that that top line's probably not side drafting as aggressive as they probably could be. I mean, one thing about it, when you side draft at a track like this, you're going to start slowing people down, and that kind of what I think we are seeing a little bit with that 77 of Greg Bartley. He's been starting to fall off of that top 4 a little bit, and I think it's because of the side draft that Noah Bitts is putting on him. But I don't think they're doing it really aggressively. They're not getting super close. I think closer to the end, these guys are going to start working a little bit harder. I think they just want to stay in sight of those guys right now.
At the end of the day, staying in sight is what's important. The lap times are just flashing by. They're just under 1 minute 50 seconds apiece, and we're already almost 10 laps in, so these laps really just do fly by, making a race like this seem like it's almost nothing, especially if it goes caution-free. Now, obviously, we mentioned about how it is a very, very big pack out there tonight. 24 cars currently on the racetrack, which is a good bit further up than we have seen so far throughout the season. We've had as low as 13 at points. But I think the big thing to note is that means the big one is only ever a little ways off. It's only going to take one wrong move, especially for somebody at the front, to really kick off a massive chain reaction. Talladega really is that track where it's not a matter of how or if, it's a matter of when.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And one thing about these cars that are a little bit different than what you see in the, the Gen 6, the Xfinity, and the trucks is I've noticed that the tire wear actually does mean something here.
Oh, we're going to go somewhere now.
At this track right here. I mean, I noticed I did a little bit of some official racing yesterday, and 30-plus laps whenever you get a little bit, 25-plus laps, somewhere in there, towards the end of a fuel run, those tires are going to be screaming at you. You could end up end up spinning out coming out of 4 or coming out of 2. I mean, you think this is such an easy track, you're able to mash that gas down, but I do believe we are going to see tire wear play a role. And, if someone spins, it could lead to a domino effect that takes out a ton of cars. Al Kozlowski. I was just getting ready to say that.
He's on the move, trying to break up into the top 3. He's pulling alongside with Cameron Stone. I think Kozlowski will be able to find his way, potentially one spot further up towards the top grouping. Corey Cook no longer leading the outside lane. The inside checks out. Oh, they almost made contact, and Pasalacqua not going to get a good run with Jeff Barnes. Kozlowski left and right, almost getting hooked by Corey Cook. But now side by side for the race lead at the top of the grouping with 10 laps to go in stage 1.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's getting as crazy as it is right now, but that top side is surging ahead. Oh, some guys going down to the bottom. Looks like some evasive maneuvers. 3 wide right here, the 51 in the middle.
Sorry about that, Jay.
What just happened?
We all got
I think it was
caused some evasive maneuvers there.
It was a massive checkup that caused all of that one, and then
I guess not.
Greg Bartlett ran into Jason Baker, who got into Cameron Stone. So it was really a multi-car incident that caused the entire back half of this leading group to just completely break apart. A lot of these guys, I imagine, are going to lose the draft because of it, but they can thank their lucky stars. They're still in this race and facing the right direction as opposed to backwards on the back straightaway.
100%. I mean, those guys are lucky. And a good thing that they did take those maneuvers, going down to the apron. Looks like Corey Cook down to the apron. Oh, Greg Wyszynski gets turned.
Oh,
No.
That's the big one. 8, 9 cars. Still more screaming in. Holy cow, John Mullins just avoided that by the skin of his teeth. Want to get a look on board with him if we can when we eventually look back at these incidents. But a tremendous wreck on the back straightaway. And I have a feeling this was caused by Noah Bitts getting a bit too aggressive with Greg Wyszynski. That was right after Jeff Barnes made contact with Corey Cook on the back straightaway, checking up the inside again. I think this is going to be with John Mullins.
I think this is actually, the 87 ended up turning Wyszynski there.
Watch this. Car slides up and just screams out of the way.
He almost lost it even trying to take those maneuvers there, but he was able to keep control of that machine. I feel like the 87 is what kind of led that one, and it's so easy with these cars to not get a square bump, and I think that's what happened here.
Taking a look at this one here, Jeff Barnes pushing Wyszynski. I think the grandstands are just going to get in the way, but sorry, it was Noah Bitts pushing Wyszynski. Really locked together right there. He pokes out to the right, and that is all it took to hook the 5 hard into the outside wall. Then Bitts came slamming down and collected drivers like DeCiani and Moore, and that is a rough ride for a lot of the drivers. So Bitts was involved. You got DeCiani, Andrew Layton, Sanchez was in it. We've also got Mark Sanchez that we just mentioned was in it. Jason Baker. Okay, we got to get another look with Jason Baker because I just realized how close of a call that was as well. And, in fact, Cameron Stone, I think both of those drivers deserve a shout as well because, holy cow, they've all just managed to scrape through and arguably even a bit of a closer call than John Mullins had.
Yeah, it was very chaotic right there. I would surprise anybody could, you just have to kind of pick a place to go, and they chose to go as low. Oh, wow. He got so close to hitting Randy Drumhiller there. That was close.
You saw Cameron Stone make a last-minute correction back up high because he saw Drumhiller screaming for the inside wall. This is with Stone, the 57 car. Watch Drumhiller sliding down right here, cuts back up high, and that is all it took. If he had gone down further, even another foot, he absolutely would have been collected big time in that mess.
Yeah, he would have creamed him there. Man, what great jobs for these guys. If you have to pick a line, to go down, you go all the way down there and try to avoid this. I mean, that was such a smart call and a microsecond response. I mean, I don't know if I could react that quick like these guys did. No, and I'm glad I'm up here.
Chris Johnson had a bit of an avoidance here as well. We'll take a look at this one from the mid-pack as 48 car into the middle of the field. Thought about going low, decided to commit, and look at that, just parts the seas.
Yeah, I mean, literally. The door opened for me. He just stepped right on through there, but
excuse me, coming through.
What a race so far. I mean, we definitely saw a very clean start, but that was a big one. I mean, and I don't think we're done. I think there's going to be more big ones like that. I mean, we saw a lot of guys did get a lot of damage out of that.
Yeah.
Greg Wychinski lost his whole front end.
So that was a pretty nasty wreck, and I'm counting 8 total cars collected in that mess.
But you know what's surprising, though, Nolan, is only 2 cars right now are a lap down. So even though that they did get a lot of damage out of that, I mean, I'm sure a lot of these cars are pretty tough. They could take a little bit of a beating. So, I mean, even Wychinski, I think that if he, you know, as this race goes on, if more cautions happen, get some of that damage fixed. I mean, a lot of times you can be missing your front end and still be able to stay in the draft and stay fast. But as soon as you try to actually lead, that's when you're going to run into problems.
Yes, and that was just what I was about to mention. There's a difference between being drivable and being competitive. These drivers will be able to stick up there with the draft, probably, but it's going to be a whole other matter to try to lead a charge by themselves. They're going to have to rely on other people for the time being until they can get that damage fixed. Good news is there will be a stage caution coming on up, and that will have about 5 laps to go until that stage break, if I'm not mistaken. Look at this, Andrew Layton trying to beat out the pace car. Doesn't get to the line in time, so he's going to go 1 down. The 84 car tried to beat him out, but just short.
Pace car lights are out, though, so yeah, we're going to have a 5-lap shootout here for this stage.
5 laps to go.
I've been seeing a lot of aggression from a lot of these guys, too. I think Corey Cook has been showing a lot of aggression. We know he shows a lot of that. I mean, I don't know, though. I mean, is it too early to be aggressive? I mean, 5 laps to go, though. I think the intensity is rising out here.
Oh, big time. I think you have to start being aggressive where you can, right? You're not going to have the chance to make these moves forever. And, hey, points are points. So I think guys that are outside of the stage points might be a little bit more content to just ride along, especially those like Drumhiller who were just collected in that wreck. But for other guys like Kozlowski, like Cook, Barnes, and more, they're going to be willing to fight this one out big time because they're actually in it for stage points.
Man, there's a lot of hurt cars out there. I think I see the 84 Andrew Layton. I mean, we talked about him losing that lap, but man, he is missing his whole front end too. Goodness gracious.
We're coming around through 3 and 4 this time by. Kozlowski is leading the way, and I will say he did a good job on leading the charge to the outside line to get up there. I have to be honest here, though, Brian. Do you think he'll be able to stay up there?
I don't know. I mean, I think Al was really fast on the top. Now that he's on the bottom, I don't know if his car is going to handle as good as he wants it to. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, is he going to try to get up there to the top in front of Barnes? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, and Barnes has been running the bottom almost this whole race, so it's going to be a little interesting to see how he handles up there.
Pace car is down and in, but of course, it's a long way around before you can actually take the green flag in one of these races. Al Kozlowski will be leading them towards that restart zone. Expect him to wait. Oh, hey, he's actually going very, very early. Usually the call is to wait until the green flag flies so you don't leave a gap for yourself to be overtaken with. But Kozlowski, unorthodox as ever, jumps early and comes up immediately to cover off Jeff Barnes.
Yeah, that actually allowed Barnes to get down behind him. So that top side kind of going to get locked out a little bit here. I do believe that's the 23 of Brandon Pasawaka. He's able to get down too, so mainly single file here in the top 6. Oh, well, looks like I think that's Cameron Stone deciding he's going to go to the back.
And wants nothing to do with this mess up in front. He's willing to just wait for his opportunity to come to him a little bit deeper in this race. Kozlowski will continue to head the way. Jeff Barnes second, Cook third, Baker fourth. Johnson rounds out the top 5. Single file as they approach start finish line with 4 laps left to go, and a good number of drivers already starting to break away. You've got the top 12 at the moment all in one long line, but from there on back, drivers are starting to break away, but it looks like you got to about 15th and 16th place, just barely hanging on.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of single files. And, you know, the damage also could be big enough that, you know, these guys aren't able to necessarily stay with the draft. And also, you know, if you're racing each other hard and a lot of the pack is single file, you know, you are in danger of losing the draft. I mean, if you get side drafted by someone else trying to go for position, you know, a temporary mindset a lot of times does not play out well here at the super speedway.
To the high side goes Jeffrey Souza, looking to follow Cameron Stone. So there has been some coordination deeper in the field here. Matthew McMeekin going up as well. Look at the high side. 3 cars strong, but charging up through the field. Already bringing to the top 5. They're now up to the 6th place driver and trying to overtake Pasalacqua, and I think the checkups on the inside line are helping this out significantly. We are at the point, though, where another caution would end stage 1 prematurely. Souza wants to lead the train, though. Thought about going 3 wide at the middle, but Stone covered him off.
Yeah, that's one thing about the bottom. You mentioned the checkups. I mean, there's a lot of that happens on that bottom line. But it looks like the top line just able to really surge ahead. The 51 making a big call. Jason Baker going to the top. Jeff Barnes going to the top. They're fighting for the lead right now.
Fighting for the lead, and almost 3 wide. They are 3 wide for the lead. Jason Baker to the high side, but he's got no help with him. Pit road is closed this time by, and Baker starting to slip back, and I think you might have just shot the outside lane in the foot in their bid to try to go for a stage 1 victory, unless Cameron Stone can give the mother of all pushes here to Jeff Barnes to push him up to the lead.
I mean, I definitely believe Cameron Stone is capable. I mean, like I said, I've seen him in other leagues, and he is one that he's very good at winning. I mean, he is always usually at victory lane. He's good at plate tracks. He's good at about every track I've ever seen him at. I think he's going to be really strong here. He's going to be able to give Jeff Barnes the pushes he needs. It's all going to be about can Barnes take those pushes, though, because, I mean, when you're being pushed, when you got a car right behind you putting in, you know, some moves on that bumper, it's hard to control that car.
Pasalacqua jumping up to the top lane. He wants to make a run for the race lead as well. Pulls all side with Chris Johnson. There's a huge bubble. That's going to stack up the outside lane. 1 lap to go in stage number 1. And Pasalacqua has all of a sudden got not a lot of help on the top lane. I think he kind of checked up that outside running, and that's what kind of caused him to lose some of the momentum that he had. But if he can get a good run down the back straightaway, he might just be able to have a say in how this plays out, unless Corey Cook decides he wants to make a bid for the race lead. It is worth noting you got Triad versus GMG here for the time being. And I imagine Corey Cook's not about to push a rival team to a stage 1 win.
Oh, I bet he doesn't really want to, that's for sure. But, I mean, both of those teams looking very strong here in this race. Here we go, soon to be the stage end here. I do believe Al might have it. I don't think he's unchallenged right now. I think he's going to get the stage 1 victory.
Johnson goes up high, but it's too little, too late. And Al Kozlowski wins the opening stage.
Great job for him. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him get a stage win. Maybe he has on Saturday nights, but definitely a great job to Al Kozlowski. Chris Johnson definitely took a risk there to try to make something happen, and at least made that stage end, you know, exciting. That's for sure.
I know.
Very intense run there in the opening stage on the night. I mean, can't really get too much more hyped up than that. And, of course, stage 2 could be even crazier. You know the race finish, if it goes down the way this first stage did, is just going to be completely maddening. Of course, Corey Cook might not have wanted to go for the race win yet, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be so eager to stick in line behind Kozlowski when you get around to the white flag.
Yeah, this stage break caution going to be good for some of the drivers out there, too, that got damaged in that big accident. We see Derek Jacobs, he doesn't have a lot of damage, but I do believe he's going to be our lucky dog and going to get a lap back here. But Greg Wachinski definitely going to be taking some good repairs. I mean, even see a little bit of damage there on Matt DeCiani. DeCiani early in this race was really quick. I mean, a lot of these guys are just going to want to get some damage took care of, get it fixed. Long race, you know, there's plenty of time to get some damage fixed. This is a big racetrack, too, so you're able to sit on pit road a little bit longer than you normally would be, especially at, you know, tracks we've been at recently. I mean, Bristol Dirt, Martinsville, you know, I mean, you don't get a lot of time to sit in pit road there, but at Talladega, you definitely have a good opportunity.
So stage 1 is complete. We'll take a brief step away and thank the people that helped to keep the lights on here at the ISCA, and we'll be back in a few with more from Talladega.
I used used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online, rock auto and see all the parts I will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Pit stops are complete, and how's this for a unique pit call? Matthew McMeekin staying out this time by. I have to say, that's an interesting tactic there, Brian, but obviously tires don't matter quite so much on a super speedway as they would a traditional mile and a half.
They definitely don't matter quite as much, but when they do matter is on restarts. So I think it could hurt him a little bit if he gets a little bit of tire spin. But one thing that I think is even more important than his tires is going to be his fuel level. Unless he pitted under that last caution that we had, or before the actual stage caution, he could be good on gas until stage 2. But I'm just a little curious. I'm going to have to look at how long he's ran.
He did pit for a fuel-only stop back on lap number 14, but
does that look like an elite exit?
The only problem that I'm really noticing is the fact that, remember, the fuel runs are 28 laps, give or take a couple. He is going to be dangerously close on fuel when he gets to the end of stage number 2. And even if he manages to finish the stage without running out of fuel, there's no telling if he'll be able to get back to pit road before it opens without running out of fuel.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to be a concern he's going to have. I mean, I think he's probably banking on a caution, maybe just split this stage up or something. I mean, that would be something that would help him out. But one thing I've always noticed about plate tracks is you can never bank on anything happening. I mean, you know, it's everything you do here is probably a risk 50-50. You know, he made the decision to you know, not pit there. If a caution doesn't come out, and usually, I mean, my luck, that's how my luck works. I mean, caution probably wouldn't come out for me, but maybe Matthew McMeekin has a golden horseshoe in the back of his car.
So lights are out on the safety car. We got set to go green flag racing this time by. Track is a pretty warm 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You've also got a 79 in the air, but
Hey,
the
Rob,
winds
should you be on the inside
are what I'm
lane?
looking at for the moment. 7 miles an hour, about 6.9 or so. That's just blowing off to the northwest. That's a pretty strong wind when you're running at 180 plus miles an hour to contend with.
Yeah, that is a lot of wind. At a big track like this, I mean, a lot of the super speedways, wind definitely comes into play, and it, you know, that could make it to where when you're exiting one corner, you know, you feel loose, or you know, it pushes against you and makes the car a little squirrely. So I mean, that's something these guys are definitely going to have to keep in mind. We're on the back stretch though, getting ready to go back green here. Matthew McMeekin, a little bit of a Hail Mary call here. Let's see if Chris Johnson, Al Kozlowski, and all these guys can find a way to get around him.
So far, a lot of the drivers did manage to come on down and get some damage repaired, but a couple of the drivers that are still going to be in trouble include Andrew Layton. I know that Greg Wyszynski is likely hurting still. You've also gotten the likes of DeCiani, who had fallen off. Drumheller wasn't too quick off of the restarts. I think everybody in the from first on back to about 16th is going to be fine, but from there on back, it still is a big question mark, and we'll have to wait to see how that'll play out by seeing how long drivers really took on pit road to get those damage repairs that they needed. So off of turn number 4, we get set to go back racing for the Rock Auto 250. Matthew McMeekin, after not pitting on this latest caution, in control. Chris Johnson to his outside. Al Kozlowski jumped early. McMeekin going to wait a little bit longer. We're back racing in Alabama.
Green flag, green flag.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't see a lot of wheel spin there out of Matthew McMeekin on the older tires, but he did fairly well, though. But, I mean, that bottom line is just discombobulated right now, Nolan. I mean, looks like the top line is a little bit more organized. You got 5 cars all right there in a row and only 2 on the bottom lined up. But it looks like reinforcements are on the way as Andrew Grisbaum trying to work his way up there to help those guys out.
And Grisbaum was really caught napping on that restart, and it allowed the outside lane to get quite a shove. But look at the checkup from the high side, and that's going to allow Grisbaum to just close right back in. Kozlowski trying to work with teammate Chris Johnson on the high side to try to push their way back around and push the 2 G&G cars back up into the lead of this race. Corey Cook, though, wants to take advantage of their success they're having as well. And look at this, Johnson now side by side with McMeekin for the race lead as they try to get themselves a run behind them. Just notice one car jump out to try to make up time on the inside or the outside lane.
Oh, no!
Oh, no! Johnson gets turned, slides out front of the pack, crash into turn number 1. Caution is out. Pasalacqua is involved. Greg Bartlett's there, but so lucky that did not take out the whole field.
Yeah, that could have definitely took out the whole field. That would have been that was a bad one right there. And I kind of was noticing some trends there from Al Kozlowski. I mean, he seems like he was having a tough time pushing Chris Johnson. I was thinking maybe it could be, the different make and model of these cars. I mean, you got the Ford, being pushed by a Chevy, and the Chevy's got a little bit more of a rounded front end, and it just looks like that could have also caused some of it.
They're both kind of a little all over the place. I mean, look at Johnson just constantly moving up and up and up, and that's not going to help Kozlowski when he's trying to figure out where he wants to go. Goes for the middle eventually. I don't think he meant to, and then Johnson just got hooked in the left rear, and that spun the 48 car way down the track. And I have to be honest, how he didn't take out McMeekin is beyond me, because I know for a fact McMeekin could not have possibly seen that coming, but holy cow. That is just incredible, and Johnson did such a good job to keep that as far down as he did for that long. But it was inevitable that he was going to drift back up and take somebody else out. I was hoping the field would have gone by him, but wishful thinking.
I mean, looking at this through the cockpit camera here, McMeekin got a windscreen full of Chris Johnson. I mean, I bet he saw his life flashing before his eyes right there.
I'm looking at the revs right now, and I can tell you this right now. He didn't even have time to hit the brakes. He just drove full bore through that, which really just emphasizes exactly how lucky he was that he managed to escape that mess. Actually, I don't think he did. I think he's actually got a little bit. Okay, never mind. He had that knock before. I noticed a little bit of a dent on the left front quarter panel. I thought he might have gotten it a bit earlier, but he already had that before the wreck. So thank goodness for that. I thought he might have actually been collected. But under caution for now the 3rd time tonight, 2nd time for an incident, and again, lucky that wasn't a second big one on the night.
Yeah, definitely could have been. We see Chris Johnson is definitely going to be taking a trip down pit road, get some of that damage fixed. He's got front end damage and rear end damage. I mean, that's definitely going to affect him. I mean, the spoilers on these cars are pretty big, and when you get some rear end damage and the aerodynamic damage, you got to worry about that. Especially at a track like this, aeros is so important.
While we are into this caution period here, it seems like I wasn't intending for this, but it looks like we got one driver that was formerly in this race who is up and ready to give us a little bit of a chat. Noah Bitts collected in the first big one on the night, back on lap number 12, finds himself, I believe, out of this race for the time being. Noah, what was that whole mess like from your perspective?
Well, just first off, I just want to apologize to Greg and everyone else who got caught up in that. I wasn't expecting it. It kind of looked like everyone got shuffled up a little bit in front of us, and Greg and I had a really big run coming up on the backstretch, and our bumpers were locked, and we just kind of got, I don't know, we got off track a little bit, a little miscommunication, and it just didn't work for us very well.
And obviously, it hasn't necessarily gone your way tonight, but obviously, you've got 2 races where you'll be able to have a crack at this. The first was tonight, and then, of course, there's, that Saturday in the Cup Series as well. Do you plan to make a second run on it in the Tucson Sound Art Cup Series next, actually in about 3 nights or so?
Yeah, if I have time, I'll definitely be here. I like racing with everyone, so maybe be a little bit more patient next time. I don't know, but I don't know. It'll be fun if we can get everyone back together and try it again.
What do you think some of the difficulties might be for these drivers throughout the race that we might want to keep an eye out for?
Well, it's hard to pass. You do have to lock bumpers and really push the limits of the car. Watch out for people overheating. I've seen that a couple times, and just people they take the runs where they need to take them, so it can get pretty hairy that way too.
And well, as always, it's a pleasure being able to chat with you, Noah. Before I let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for that number 87 car?
Yeah, it was a set front line put together, so it was really fast. It's a bummer didn't get to show it off this week, but maybe again Saturday. So and thanks for everyone who put on the race, and again, everyone who got caught up in that wreck, I apologize.
I'm coming on the
Just
inside here.
miscommunication.
Great.
Well, fingers crossed you'll be able to be racing out again on Saturday night, and hopefully you'll have some better luck there as well. Thank you for joining us tonight then, Noah, and, well, we'll wish you the best of luck later on in the week.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, guys.
That was Noah Bitts joining us up here in the broadcast booth in his frontline number 87 car. Tough break as well. It was really working on crossing his way out through the field. It's just those little moments, though. We talked about this at the start of the race, right, Brian? It's these little moves, and just takes the slightest little bump in exactly the wrong spot to kick off a chain reaction like that.
Yeah, it's almost like, the old saying where, a butterfly flapping and swinging on one side of the world causes a hurricane on the other side. That's kind of what this is. I mean, you just a little bump, a little touch. That's all it takes. And I'm sure these guys itching to get back racing, though, for sure.
Well, they are. Lights are already out on the pace car. It'll be 11 laps to go when we take the green flag once again. So what do you think, Brian? Think the first or the second 10 laps or so in Stage 2 will be as excited as the first?
I mean, as for these stages, I mean, as they progress, the closer we get to the end of this one, I think it's going to definitely the action's going to get a little bit more intense. The tension out there between these drivers is also going to be ratcheting it up for sure. This caution, though, I think helped out Matthew McMeekin quite a bit. We were talking about fuel, him being really, really, really close. I mean, under these caution laps, I would assume he's going to be able to save a little bit of fuel, so he might be all right to make it to the end of the stage.
But pass you now to stay behind you.
McMeekin still leads. I think this third caution on the night here, Brian, might be what he needs in order to save enough fuel to make sure that he'll be able to get back around and top up fuel under this second stage caution before we get set for the final 40 or so laps of racing tonight. Pace car is down and in.
I'm low on
we get
horsepower,
set to cross
so I'll stay
onto
low on the
lap
restart.
number 30. Barlow making the call at the rear of the field, but he is low on horsepower, so there's a warning to the field. McMeekin, a very early launch, takes us back to green.
Yeah, that always is a curiosity for me when guys take that early launch. I mean, at the plate tracks, I mean, usually you want to go as soon as that green flag starts waving because you don't want to give these guys any chance to draft up to you because, I mean, they're going to be going almost 10 mile an hour faster. But luckily, it looks like Matthew McMeekin is not having that issue. Top line was definitely a little bit sleeping on that start, though. They only have 3 cars up there, so I think it might just be a numbers game what we're seeing right now. But you can see Josh Schaffner, huge gap between him and Cameron Stone there. So 10th to 11th, I mean, it looks like they are just missing a lot of horsepower back there in that other pack.
And Kozlowski shoved to the front by Corey Cook. McMeekin's reign on this fourth restart on the night did not last long. Kozlowski clears. Corey Cook and the 88 car both jump down, leaving Barnes high and dry on the top side. He's got Jason Baker, though, and Cameron Stone, luckily, still willing to work with him.
Yeah, those guys are working very well together, Corey Cook and Al Kozlowski there. I mean, it was only 3 cars versus like a 7 on the bottom, and those guys were still able to make something happen. Now Jeff Barnes wants to try to do the same thing. I mean, one thing you always know about plate racing is you're only as good as your help, the guy that's pushing you. interesting call there from Matthew McMeekin. Slides right up there in front of Jeff Barnes.
The more cars on that outside lane, the more likely it is that they'll be able to make a charge on the guys up in front. 9 to go this time by in stage 2, and the outside lane starting to falter. Oh, look at this! McMeekin not wanting to be worked with. Jeff Barnes does not want to give any favors to the 41 car. He jumps up high and just shatters the outside lane as a result. That's going to allow for that second pack with Schaffner all the way back to Souza to close in just a touch. But I don't think it'll be enough for them to properly catch up the draft again.
Yeah, you hate to see that. I mean, Barnes just refusing to work with Matthew McMeekin there really hurt all of those guys. It really didn't help them at all. Now it's single filed out this pack. They are almost avoiding him like he had the plague or something like that.
Barnes and Stone starting to work together again. They're both going to link up and start to make moves on that outside lane, really pinching in the likes of Paul Olson as well at the 78 car of Andrew Grisbaum. And Jeff Barnes will be able to lead the outside lane. Jason Baker, Matthew McMeekin, once again, the inside starting to break apart. We know what happens whenever this tends to happen, right? The inside starts to break apart, and that allows the outside to get a run. But that has always opened up the door for Rex, because so far every caution foul of the night has started on the outside lane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the top side, you know, you do a whole lot more pushing up there. You have a whole lot more momentum, and there's a whole lot more room for mistakes. But, wow, look at Barnes getting a huge run, but getting a little bit loose there. He's able to keep it going. Cameron Stone giving him some really good pushes. That top line, I do believe they're going to lead this lap. Al Kozlowski getting some pushes from Corey Cook. I mean, you can see just how
Leaders, when you get
fragile
here,
these, or not fragile, but just how vulnerable these cars are to whenever they're pushing on one another. You just have to be almost surgical when it comes to pushing.
Barnes is going to be clear for the race lead. Is he going to abandon Cameron Stone? Doesn't look like he will. Barnes wants to stay loyal to the friends that have helped push him on the outside lane. He's going to bring Stone with him. Jason Baker wants to make up some ground as well, and now they're going to jump down. So it looks like Stone and Barnes are the two drivers that are really wanting to work together. They've been working together so far, and for good reason. Triad teammates, of course, whereas Matthew McMeekin and Jason Baker are not. So those top two at the moment have no incentive to help out the two other drivers on the outside lane.
Yeah, and that's what this, this is all about. It's all about teammates. It's all about working together. But it looks like Al Kozlowski and Corey Cook, I mean, we saw Cameron Stone and, Jeff Barnes, they're dance partners in this competition. But Corey Cook and, Al Kozlowski are definitely working together, too. You can see that every time one makes a move, the other one goes right there with them. It's almost like they're of one mind as they're getting a huge run here on the top. And next time by, only 5 laps to go in the stage.
Oh, there's a big checkup as Corey Cook and Al Kozlowski both clear. That's stacked out Barnes and Stone. And you saw even Baker and McMeekin slammed on the binders because they thought there was about to be a caution. I thought there was about to be a caution in that one. Luckily, though, there wasn't. Again, great car control from what we're seeing here in this top grouping with drivers being so aggressive, but each time just being able to keep it in line without falling into the same trap of hooking each other for these positions in the closing laps of stages.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. I mean, it's too early. We're not even at the halfway point yet. These guys need to just, take it easy. You don't want to cause anybody to wreck. Definitely don't want to make any enemies out here. As a single file out up front here. And also, that pack back there, 10th place or 11th place on back, those guys are also kind of single file, trying to work their way to try to catch up to these guys. I mean, they're running a little bit slower, but not much slower, to be honest with you. So I think if this front pack gets racy enough and they start slowing each other down.
Of this stage, the question is, you've also got slower cars like the likes of Angela and Randy Drumhiller. Those guys not even hitting 170 miles an hour. They're going to catch them for sure within the next lap or so. How are they going to play a factor into this fight?
Yeah, definitely curious about that 100%. I think we're seeing a lot of timing. I think that's what the biggest thing about this. We got these tandem guys that are kind of working together, Jeff Barnes and Cameron Stone. I think they're going to try to line up, probably out of 4 or, maybe going into 3, they're going to try to make something happen, on that last lap of the stage. So I think right now they're just, like I said, keeping their heads down. They're trying to take it easy right now. It looks like the pack's not going to be able to have any problem getting around Randy Drumhiller and Andrew Layton there.
Yeah, they're both going to go way to the outside lane, not wanting to play a factor in this fight here. Out of turn number 4, Al Kozlowski still leads the way. Pit road closes, this time by. And now the countdown begins as to how long will it be before these drivers, especially those in the from 6th to 10th, start to make those moves to push themselves into a potential stage winning position.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's all about timing. It's all about, really just taking that run at the perfect moment. Because, one thing about Talladega, the start-finish line is not in the middle of the triangle. You have to really have that run at that exact part. Oh.
Here we go. Barnes and Cook go high, and just like that, Kozlowski has lost his drafting buddy as Cook goes for glory. Stone thought about going with him, decided to go back down to the bottom, and Jeff Barnes started to slip back as a result. Now Cameron Stone thinks about pushing up to the outside lane. Kozlowski goes with, Cook blocks, and Kozlowski way to the high side, trying to go for the race lead as we approach the final lap in the second stage. Here comes Stone, 3 wide up the middle as this 57 car goes to the point.
Wow, you would think that was the last lap right there. This is the last lap now, though. But, you would think that the race was about to end right there, the way these guys are driving. Al Kozlowski following all the way back to 5th, 6th. He's losing positions like crazy. Matthew McMeekin getting pushed by Corey Cook here. Wow, look at the run these guys are getting right now.
McMeekin's going to clear. They're pushing 195 miles an hour. Kozlowski's got help from Jason Baker. Corey Cook holds the inside lane. Matthew McMeekin in the lead. Kozlowski on his own up top on a one-man charge. Baker goes up to help the gas and go. Speedway Angels 88. McMeekin still with the lead. It's a driver still wrecking behind. It's not going to matter. A big crash as we come to the stripe, and stage 2 comes to a fiery end.
Man, what a run from Al Kozlowski. He almost was able to take that away from Matthew McMeekin, but what a stage win, and man, chaotic there. What exactly happened?
Good grief. Someone got hooked right in the middle of the pack, and that has allowed Pattengill, DeCiani, and Schaffner, I believe, to all pick up extra stage points. And there you saw it. Sure was. I think that was Jason Baker that hooked Cameron Stone into the outside line. No, it was Jeff Barnes that hooked Baker down into Stone.
Right behind people forever.
And I think Jeff Barnes pulled up. No, it was actually Baker that tried to come down to side draft, and he turned himself across Barnes' nose. The 57 almost flipped over. I think that was John Mullins that got collected. It was in the 64 car in the serial smorgasbord. And that
the 57 got the worst out of that, I do believe. He hit that wall hard.
Yeah, he's going to be destroyed because of that.
Yep, the attrition is starting to set in. We started out this race with 24, 25 cars. Now already see 19th on back, a lap down, and probably going to see some more guys go a lap down. Cameron Stone probably going to be taking some heavy repairs. And you see the whole field coming down now.
Indeed. So, bringing it down in for the second time tonight here as take a look one more at the incident that brought stage 2 to an end from the air. And Kozlowski was really running down McMeekin, but couldn't get there. And honestly, looking at how it was playing out, I doubt Kozlowski would have gotten there anyway, but you have to wonder how that would have played out if they had the opportunity to just run that one all the way out to the end.
Yeah, for sure. And, definitely an impressive run from both of those guys. I actually didn't think McMeekin was going to be able to do what he did, but, he's shown a lot of speed here tonight in that Ford Mustang. And, what a call there. We saw that earlier when he decided to stay out. I think that really did pay off.
Oh, it absolutely did. He was able to stay up at the front for a majority of the second stage, didn't have to work his way back up through the field, and got himself a stage 1 win because of it. was a good call.
People were treating him like he had the plague and not really working with him, but it didn't even matter. Those guys ended up having to push him, and he got a stage win because of it. What a race there from him. So 2 different stage winners so far here. Who's going to take home the big show? This is when the big trophy. This is when the race truly begins. If it goes green throughout this whole last stage here, these guys are probably going to end up having to pit. I do believe probably even twice, I do believe.
Thought they had some hidden gummies down on the final.
Still a lot of racing left to go. Not even halfway through the Rock Auto 250 to Talladega Super Speedway. We're back with Stage 3 in just a few moments. For now, though, we'll take one more quick word with our sponsors.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Troy Cook won the race off of pit road. McMeekin, your Stage 2 winner, finds himself starting third. Jeff Barnes is splitting the two on the outside lane. There's Kozlowski, Johnson, Souza, Olsen, Schaffner, Grisbaum, Pattengale, and Grossi to round out the top 10. A couple of cars got waved around the pace car to get laps back. Those included Brandon Pasalacqua, who's gotten back onto the leading lap because of that, as well as Mark Sanchez, who is still 5 laps down.
Yeah, definitely good for those guys. One thing I think, the reason Corey Cook was able to win the race off pit road, he didn't take tires. He spent 7.6 seconds in the box. Jeff Barnes spent 8 seconds in the box, while Matthew McMeekin did take tires.
So now that we are in the third and final stage, we have to start to ask ourselves how pit stops are going to be playing out. There are estimated 28 laps to go on 1 tank of fuel, but there is still 41 laps to go. So a 1 stop, I think, is how this is going to play out. And we could be seeing some drivers pushing it all the way until about 15 laps to go or so.
It's going to be close on fuel. I think it's going to be really close. Yeah, they could probably get away with 1 stop, but you have to do it on probably the perfect lap. And when you're leading this race, your fuel economy is not as good. But here comes the green flag.
Green flag drops. Corey Cook waited for it. He's off and away. Jeff Barnes didn't get a good launch from the outside lane, but neither did Chris Johnson from the bottom. So top 2, McMeekin and Corey Cook, with Jeff Barnes trying to make up some speed on the outside lane.
I just feel like there's so many hurt cars out here. I mean, look at this. They spread out so much on that restart. But wow, Al Kozlowski giving Jeff Barnes some really good pushes right now. And looks like they're going to be able to slide right down in front of Corey Cook. Oh, they're not clear. They were for a moment there.
Just for a moment, but you have to make sure that you're going to be clear and you're not going to be immediately run over when you jump down to the line, because you know you're going to lose a mile an hour to a speed when you change lanes like that. So if you're clear by about an inch, you are going to get turned from the back bumper when you try to slide down across somebody's nose.
Yeah, definitely. With the difference in momentum, it's so hard for people to stop, not hit you. So you really want to be real careful with that. But it looks like the bottom line surgeon ahead here, Corey Cook, has got him a hot ride right now, and looking like he's in control of this race. But you never know what the picture is going to look like. You said, we talked about green flag pit stops earlier. That's going to definitely be a question on these guys' mind. Do you take tires? That's why I kind of feel like I'm surprised more guys didn't take tires under that caution there. His tires don't mean much. We've discussed that before. But I think they do mean something still.
Particularly the left side tires. And the only point where you have to worry about that is looseness out of turn 2. That's really the big point where drivers start to get all sorts of crossed up. And it's typically the left side tires that drivers change nowadays when it comes to plate tracks, which is interesting. Because most other tracks, if you're going to go for a two-stop strategy, it'd be the rights.
And most other tracks, though, you don't ever want to do a two-tire strategy. I mean, I think the only tracks you can really get away with that is probably like Michigan and Auto Club and Daytona and Talladega. Really.
Oh, yeah. Well, even at Michigan, I would still say, right signs are definitely going to be more your favor because you still have to hit the brakes at some point along that track. You can't run flat out there forever.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point for sure. You got to. That is interesting that the left sides wear more here, which is I don't know why that is.
Something about the track surface being rough. That's, I think, what I last heard. This is a secondary pack. 13th on back to 17th with the likes of Wachinski and DeCiani trying to close on in to make it a 6-car grouping. You got a lot of damaged cars in this one, including Baker, Pasalacqua, Derek Jacobs, Stone, Wachinski, and DeCiani. Everybody behind them really just kind of in a no man's land. The top grouping, first on back to 12th. The only cars that are realistically up to speed at any capacity in this race anymore.
And there's almost even starting to be a little bit of a 4-car breakaway here. We see Schaffner seems like he's got some, I don't think he's got damage. I just don't, maybe that car is just not as fast as he needs it to be right now. But he has been lucky, though, considering before the stage ended, we saw that he was back there, I think, fighting for 10th place, was separate from the pack. So it's good that he is back up here. Looks like he is still in the draft. But something is slowing some of these guys down. Maybe it's just, a little bit of apprehension of going up there.
Well, it's worth noting that while some of them are completely clean, some of them do still have damage on them. I think the most damaged car in this grouping is the likes of Chris Johnson, but other cars have got little nicks and dents here or there. Wayne Grossy's got a bit of a dent on the front nose. Pattengale has got some right front damage and right rear damage from slapping the wall somewhere along the line. Kozlowski's got a bit of front end damage as he makes a move to the outside lane. That's about it, but you have a couple of cars that aren't entirely clean in this field, which could be what's contributed to some of these guys slowing down.
It looks like Al Kozlowski trying to organize a top lane up here. It seems to be working. He's got Jeff Barnes right there, Jeffrey Souza. Looking like they're all going to try to line up here on the top. You also see the 17 of Robert Pattengale maybe trying to get a hint of their draft. And it looks like it's working. Al Kozlowski side by side right now with Josh Schaffner. A lot of these guys wanting to just keep their heads down, like I said, and just, hang out, because they know this is a long run. These guys are going to probably end up having to make green flag pit stops. Al Kozlowski's got something completely different in mind.
You got to make those moves eventually, and the further up you are, the more you have control over the overall race pace. They are catching Greg Bartlett, who's going at a very sluggish 156 miles an hour. He is going 25% slower than everybody else, and that is a great camera to show you the difference right there.
You hate to see that. I mean, it's so easy in a track like this to give up when you're going only, that kind of a pace. I mean, it's not fun. It's miserable. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anybody to have to drive around here. You see all these cars catching you so fast, and there's nothing you can do about it. But good on him, to stick with it and not give up, because, you never know what could happen here. A lot of guys could get taken out, and even if you're 156 mile an hour speed, you could get positions.
It's all going to depend on whether or not drivers are going to bow out of the race altogether. That is obviously going to be the really big role in how this race could play out. But so far, doesn't look like anybody's looking to be going anywhere anytime soon. So you've still got the top grouping here trying to just run around and more just being patient, being conservative. Nobody's really making too many aggressive moves, although Kozlowski is looking like it wants to get to the front. Quite sharpish here. Jeff Barnes pushing up to the back end of him. He's also got Jeffrey Souza and Thomas O'Hara. Give him a little bit of a helping hand, and it looks like they are going to be making that outside charge work as the inside lane starts to break apart.
Yeah, I think that's because of the side draft how Kozlowski's putting on those guys. And also, you see Chris Johnson. He's got, some damage. We've seen him being involved in an accident earlier. Surprised that he's even up here in contention at all, but you can see I think he is hampered a little bit here. As Al Kozlowski thinks about going down in front of Corey Cook, he is going to do it here, and he's taking the lead.
Kozlowski to the point. Cook still sitting in second place. Now, I think one thing that's worth noting here is that Jeff Barnes wasn't allowed to clear with him. That's not going to do Kozlowski any favors if he ends up having to work with Barnes again. I imagine Jeff Barnes is going to remember that, and he's not going to be so keen to help him out a second time here. Jeffrey Souza in the, as he likes to call it, the yellow school bus, running the outside lane. He's currently the one that's looking to give a little bit of a shove here to Jeff Barnes' Pepsi Chevrolet. He's going to push him clear of Kozlowski. And Barnes going to be taking Souza with him. And they're both clear. Oh, listen, they're going to be waiting for Thomas O'Hara to get clear as well. And again, that makes sense. Triple triad teammates right here.
Oh, yeah, those guys working very well together right now. Good to see Souza back out here. He hasn't been racing ISCA in quite a while. So it's good to see him out here, making a start. Always been a great driver. And definitely you can see a lot of teamwork going on between all these triad guys. I mean, I don't blame these guys for staying up on the top side. I mean, what is the hurry to go to the bottom?
Well, I mean, it's good to get clear so you can cover off the inside lane, but obviously it's not going to really help you if you don't have anybody behind you that's...
Oh, no!
Oh! Big crash, back straightaway. Souza's involved, so is Corey Cook. And I think it was Souza that got hooked, and I think that was by his triad teammate, Thomas O'Hara.
Man, oh man, that just broke up out of nowhere. Yeah, just pushing through the corner and also wasn't square. It's turned him right around. Oh, Paul Olson gets into Jeffrey Souza. I think Corey Cook got the worst out of that, though. Souza's car doesn't even look that bad.
You cannot push in the corners. This has been reiterated time and time again. It just does not work. There it is. O'Hara does hook Souza straight down into the likes of Corey Cook. Left rear quarter panel. That is a classic super speedway wreck. And McMeekin, I think, just escaped that. Look at Schaffner as he flies in a shot here. Right behind. Just managed to get around that.
Wow. Definitely some great instincts there from Josh Schaffner. Man, that was definitely a violent crash there. I don't know. Josh Schaffner, he's known as the corn man. Apparently that corn gives him some very good nutrients to be able to avoid wrecks.
40 laps to go under the caution period currently, so they are still going to need to make one more pit stop for the end of the night. This is with Paul Olson. Just in the smoke, can't see, and just runs into the back of Souza.
Never mind. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely not fun for him there.
Tough break. Tough break.
Looks like everybody going to be deciding to go down pit road here, so still not going to be within that fuel window, but I mean, this is going to make it a whole lot easier to make it on one stop here, and it's also going to open up the door for a lot of strategy, with guys deciding to go down at different times. I mean, if we didn't have a caution in this final stage, I think they would have been pretty limited on when they could pick the time to pit. But now, a lot of doors have opened. Could see some guys, like I said, teams make different calls.
Everybody looks like they're going to be pitting in so far in this one. Nobody's really wanting to stay out, although I think, if my eyes don't deceive me, first driver to do that will actually be Matthew DeCiani, staying out in the Chameleon Cold Brew Coffee #1 Chevrolet. He will inherit the race lead because of this. That's an interesting call there for DeCiani, and I think it's because he realizes you're going to have to stop at least one more time yet in this race, and I think with everybody that's pitting now, it should be down to a one-stop race with just about everybody else in the field.
Yeah, but looking at that car, though, you know, he's going to end up, yeah, he's going to have to pit again, of course, but, I mean, he's got some damage on that machine. I'm curious how he's going to be handling out front. I mean, you see a lot of right side damage, a lot of rear end damage, even a little bit of front end damage. I mean, the air is not going to